What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, I've been a little bit busy, so some of you may not even know of this story because I haven't made a video of it, but I want to give you guys the update and kind of fill everybody in. So, behind the scenes, Miguel Cotto, I did an article on my website. He was going to fight in the summertime. They couldn't find a marketable opponent that made sense for an HBO pay-per-view, so he decided to sit out. Him, HBO, Rock Nation. It was agreed that without the right opponent, they were trying to get like maybe a Rosado or Kirkland. Maybe those guys priced themselves out, or it just didn't make sense for an HBO pay-per-view, so he's sitting out. Now, behind the scenes, they're trying to work out a fight with Miguel Cotto and Juan Manuel Marquez. And the latest update is Marquez doesn't want the fight at the catch weight that Team Cotto has suggested, which is 150 pounds. And that's kind of where it sits. Marquez says he has to talk to his team to see what's the next move. He says he's not like hell-bent on, I have to fight Cotto, but if it makes sense, he'll do it. He wants to fight him, but he just doesn't like the 150. He believes it's a little bit too much weight for him. Now, I got to give my two cents on this. Marquez, if you guys follow my channel, he's one of my favorites. I'm a longtime fan. I love his technical ability, his counterpuncher. He's one of my favorite counterpunchers and fighters in general. Never been stopped. The guy always brings it, always shows heart. He has a good style. I like that Romanza gym style that him and Nacho have perfected. And you even see it in some of their other fighters. When Nacho Bearstein was training Johnny Gonzalez, I see little things where it's kind of Marquez-ish. You know what I mean? It's a certain style. If you look at Finito Lopez, that's another guy Nacho Bearstein trained at a point, and just real good boxers, you know what I mean? And I like his technique. But I got to be real with this. A lot of people have these criticisms on certain fighters, like, oh, this person's a cherry picker. He picks the one matches he wants. But I feel like Marquez needs to fight. He's been MIA since, I think, Alvarado was his last fight. And he's being a little bit too selective. I think 150 is a reasonable weight. He's not the biggest welterweight. I know that. You got guys like Keith Thurman. You got guys like Earl Spence Jr. So he, you know what I mean, he'd look a lot smaller than guys like that. But Cotto's not the biggest either. And the fact that Miguel Cotto just set history not too long ago by defeating Sergio Martinez, becoming the first ever Puerto Rican to win titles in 4 different weight classes. And he was doing that at about 159, a catchweight with Martinez. Then he had the Gil fight at 57. Then he fought Canelo at 155. I mean, for him to come back down to 147, a weight he hasn't really fought probably since Pacquiao, and that was even at a catchweight of 145. But I'm just saying the 140s in general. I don't even really remember the last time Cotto fought at 140 anything. I think it might have really been Pacquiao, which was years ago. So it's like, come on, like, you have to be reasonable. Cotto was just fighting at 155 to 159. You know what I mean? So 150 to me is reasonable. Marquez not the biggest dude. Cotto's not the biggest dude, but he's acclimated to 154 or better in recent memories. He fought Floyd at 154. Like I said, Canelo at 55, Sergio at 159, Gil at 57. So it kind of doesn't make sense. You look at their height and mass and stuff like that. I don't know who's the A side. I don't really care about all that A side stuff in general, unless people are lying and saying someone's an A side, but they're both respected names in the division, so I don't really care to break down who's the A side. It just, to me, Marquez is being real selective. He doesn't want to give Pacquiao a rematch, a 5th rematch, or he didn't. It sounded like he said he was content with how that saga played out, him knocking out Pacquiao. Fine, that's his decision. But in recent memory, he's been real selective on who he wants to fight. He said, there's an interview you guys can search for us on YouTube. I remember, I think it was before the Alvarado fight, they asked him about Ruslan Provodnikov, who at the time was calling him out, and this was a few losses. Like, now the Ruslan fight might not make sense because Ruslan just lost to John Molina Jr., got his head outboxed. He lost to Matisse, and he's had losses since. But at this time, when a couple years back, it would have made more sense because I think he had fought Timothy Bradley to a war. I think it was somewhere around that time. And Marquez was like, oh, I think the fight with Provodnikov is no good for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? He was like, it was not a good fight. But Alvarado at a catchweight, and Alvarado was coming off of stoppage loss to Provodnikov. That was a good fight. You know what I'm saying? So it's I like Marquez. I actually love Marquez's style, and I like him as a fighter. But if he's gonna fight, I know he had a knee injury or whatever. He should fight soon. He's not getting any younger. I don't think he's as fluid athletically as like a Floyd Mayweather. So he would want to get back in the ring. You know what I mean? Because he's a good counterpuncher, but there's vulnerabilities when you like. I'm not comparing him. I'm not trying to compare him to Floyd, but I'm saying you look at guys like Bernard Hopkins who fought late. You look at Sergio Martinez, you look at Mayweather, those guys are super athletic. So they were able to get away with it 38, 39, 40 or better. But Marquez, he still is, like I said, not the biggest welterweight. Like, put it this way. You look at Mayweather versus you look at Marquez. They're both good counterpunchers, but Floyd does everything a hair better, you know, or a lot better, depending on what the category is. You know what I mean? Speed, much faster, things like that. That's why you don't see Floyd getting knocked down. And Marquez, you look at some of his biggest fights, he got knocked down. He almost got knocked down by Timothy Bradley, got knocked down by Pacquiao a gang of times, got knocked down by Michael Katsidis, got knocked down by Mike Alvarado in a fight he was dominating. You know what I mean? He gets knocked down off balance and stuff like that. So I think he should just get back in the ring. I think, me personally, I think the Cotto fight at 50 makes a lot of sense. It would make fans happy. It's still two names where you could say, oh, none of these guys. It's not like, I don't know, just a fight that just, why are we looking at it now? You know what I mean? The guys, Cotto, he lost to Canelo, but he didn't get knocked out or nothing. He still hasn't been like brutally knocked out, or like where Cotto just looks like a shell of his former self. Same thing with Marquez. He's still a good fighter. So I think he should take one of those fights, because you look at it, if he's going to fight again, that's probably one of the better fights he can do, like someone his age. Because Marquez, can you picture him in there with Earl Spence Jr., a guy who's that big, that much bigger than him naturally, who's going to apply a nonstop consistent pressure. Like I said in this video, he almost got knocked down in the 12th round, I believe, by Timothy Bradley. And this is, I'm just being real, because Marquez, I fuck with Marquez. I'm just telling you what it is. So Porter Thurman winner, that's a tough fight. These guys are much younger and stuff, so at least fight someone around your age. And I think the 150 mark for the weight is definitely fair, because Cotto is going to have to budge too. He hasn't had to make 150 in quite some time. He's been fighting at 54 to 59 in the last recent years. So I think it's a good fight he should take, to be honest. The fans would like it. It's still a fight you can justify. Cotto needs an HBO pay-per-view worthy opponent. People aren't going to want to watch. This is what I'm noticing about boxing. Boxing fans are getting smart. They got the Amazon Fire Sticks and all this stuff streaming. People aren't paying for bullshit like they might have been willing to do 5-6 years ago. You know what I mean? Because the numbers are showing you that. When it's a Mayweather Berto, or if it's a fight like Triple G Lemieux, a fight that people aren't really sold that it's a 50-50 fight, the numbers are suffering. Pacquiao Bradley 3, they didn't want to see that. People wanted to see Pacquiao Khan, Pacquiao Crawford, Pacquiao Broner, any of those types of fights, right? People aren't doing it, you know what I mean? So people aren't gonna fork over cash, from what I've seen, for Cotto versus James Kirkland, who just got his head knocked off by Canelo in his last fight. We don't know if he's with Ann Wolfe. He lost to Ishida, who's a non-puncher, right? And he's been MIA since the Canelo knockout. So I think the pressure is on HBO a lot lately, in terms of they're not going to just try to put out whatever. Like, the fight has to make sense. And you can make sense of a Cotto Marquez fight, even at a catchweight. I'm not a big fan of catchweights, but I know it's a part of this boxing society, this generation of boxing. And to me, that catchweight of 150 is fair. Actually, I'm surprised that Cotto is even willing to do the 150. I know he's not that big. I've met Cotto. I know he's not that big, but he could easily, just based on him, who he is, with his drawing power, having almost a million buys with the Canelo fight, which is more than what Marquez has done in the last couple of years, because he hasn't really even been fighting since Alvarado. I'm surprised Cotto is even willing to 150. You know what I mean? You got other people in other divisions and stuff, and they're complaining over not budging 1 pound. So the fact that Cotto's last fight was 155 and he's willing to drop another 5 pounds, to me, that's fair. That's just the only way I see it. It is fair, because he's still having to drop 5, and Marquez would only be coming up technically. His last fight with Alvarado was 44, so technically it's 6 pounds, but he's fought at welterweight a couple of times. Bradley, Pacquiao 3, Pacquiao 4, those are all at welterweight. So he has welterweight experience. You know what I mean? Just like Broner. Broner moving back up to welterweight. That's actually another fight that he could make. Now that I said Broner, I would love to see Broner versus Marquez. But we don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Broner versus Cotto 150. I say it's fair. Drop it in the comment section. Let me know if you want to see it. Would you prefer something like Marquez versus Broner? John Molina and Marquez? I don't know. You guys let me know. Should he drop to 140? Let me know. Make sure you share the video, like the video. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.